Metakama,
Aye, aye.
time for a question. Where does Pounamu come from?
Well, that depends on whether you want a mythological story, which explains some of the science of it, or whether you want to know literally where we get it from at the moment. So let's go with one of those. Let's go with where we find it at the moment. So Pounamu, it was generated deep under the earth and often appeared coming up through seams of serpentine. So it's often in relationship with serpentine. And it came up in seams up and down the South Island. So we've got fault lines and fault pressures and seismic activity that helped to bring it to the surface in the Southern Alps. We don't really know where the lodestones are, if you like, or the homestones are. But from there, weather and time have begun to send it down to the coasts of the West Coast. So, simple answer, West Coast, South Island. On the west coast of the South Island, what's interesting is that there are varieties of nephrites, all colours that are predominant to some areas. So South Westland stone has a look, Flower Jade or Mount Marsden Jade, they have a look. So different sources have quite different looking nephrite. The thing about those sites is that sometimes we find stones that are similar about 200 kilometres apart from each other, because the fault line has gone through some of these seams or some of these sources and separated them by up to 200 kilometres just with seismic and alpine movement and so forth. So you might have a stone that stops in the mountains and appears down the line going to the coast. Most of the stone comes from the riverbeds under the control of Ngāi Tahu and others. Others come from gold mining works. So in the day, a lot of stone was found by gold miners digging, and unless it was the very dark green, beautiful, translucent stone, they weren't worth anything, so they were buried, literally. Dug a hole in the wall of the mine, pushed the stone in there, closed them in, they're still there, they can still be found. If you wanted to fossick for greenstone, and often people have this kind of hope that they'll find a piece of greenstone, you are allowed to fossick on the beaches on the west coast, and you are allowed to fossick on some rivers, but you're really best to check with the local iwi. If you can't carry it on your own out, you can't take it.